let's uncover a little bit more about the Imago Dei and what it means to be made in the image and likeness of God. The phrase comes from the first of two creation accounts in the book of Genesis, chapter 1, verse 26. And then God said, "Let us make man in our image, in our likeness, and let them rule over the fish of the sea and the birds of the air, over the livestock, over all the earth, and all the creatures that move along the ground." So God created man in his image. In the image of God he created him. Male and female he created them. This is then reiterated in Genesis 5, 1 and 2, when we hear about the lineage of Adam. So when God created man, he made him in the image of God, male and female, he blessed them. And then when they were created, he called them man. Now the Hebrew word for man is actually better translated mankind or humanity. So when the Bible says that God created man in his image, the Bible really means that God created humanity in his image. He created the entire species in his image. Of course, a lot of people read this text and they use it as proof of supremacy, meaning they deprioritize everything from different ethnic groups to people with mental and physical handicaps. And as such, this text is sometimes used or misused because of a poor understanding of that word man and a misunderstanding of that word image. But again, man doesn't refer to maleness, it refers to humanity. An image, interestingly enough, doesn't refer to a picture. In fact, it's probably best translated shadow. So God made man as his shadow, made man as his model. And so some translations render it even that God made man as his phantom. Now, this, of course, approaches how we changes how we approach the whole text. If we think of God making us as his shadows, and if we think of those shadows being the way we look, then we've arrived at something awful. A better translation means that God made us as his shadows because he's put something in us, because we're tethered to him in some important sense, because what he does, we're meant to do. So we're like less dimensional facsimiles of God, like photocopies of God, caricatures of how God would act in the world. Now, the reason I think the Imago Dei is so important is because of the close relationship between us being made in the image of God and Jesus Christ coming to the earth as a man, which is to say God in the image of God's self. So in a sense, God gave us a picture of what he looked like. When he gave us Jesus, he gave us an image of a perfect man. God made himself in the image of a man, and then in that man image showed us what the image of God was truly like through Jesus. Not Jesus' physical body, but through his actions, his behaviors, his words, his affections, his ambitions, through the way that he lived. Now, typically, the Imago Dei is not included as one of the core doctrines, quote unquote, of the Christian faith. Yet it's referenced in all the major creeds. It's the oddball in our Doxa collection of orthodoxies, but I actually think that's an oversight for many people, especially these days, because the Imago Dei gets to the root of who we are as 21st century human beings. So consider this quote from M.T. Wright. In the early stories, the point was that the Creator loved the world he'd made and wanted to look after it in the best possible way. To that end, he placed within this world a looking after creature, a creature who would demonstrate to creation who he, the Creator, really was, and who would set to work developing the creation and making it flourish and fulfill its purpose. This looking after creature, or rather this family of creatures, the human race, would model and embody that interrelatedness, that mutual and fruitful knowing, trusting, and loving, which was the Creator's intention. Relationship was part of the way we were meant to be fully human, not for our own sake, but as part of a much larger scheme. And our failures in human relationships are thereby woven into our failures in the other, larger projects of which we know in our bones we're a part. Our failure to put the world to rights in systems of justice, our failure to maintain and develop the spirituality which at heart involves a relationship of trust and love, are indicative of a failure to maintain ourselves with God.